Welcome to the September Design Review Board meeting. The purpose of the board is to review applications for certificates of appropriateness for construction, alteration, demolition, and relocation of structures in Aiken's historic districts in an effort to help Aiken retain its historic character. We'll start by reviewing the minutes of the previous design review meeting from last month. Afterwards, the board votes on approval of the minutes. We'll begin by calling applicants to the podium to speak after staff has described what the application is. When you come up to the podium, if you'd like to speak, please start by stating your name and address and then explain your proposed project. The board may ask for questions for clarification, and the board will then deliberate and make a decision based on the appropriate guidelines and our professional experience. To members of the public who would like to speak, we'd like to keep the time of each person speaking to 5 minutes so everybody has an opportunity. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Yeah, Madam Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the work session minutes and the regular meeting minutes from August the 15th as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Raise your right hand. Approved. Staff, would you like to introduce the first application?
Item A under new business, application number CERD24-001092 has been postponed by staff. The application will be reviewed on September 17th. Item B under new business, application number CERH24-036. Applicant Jason Jones is requesting approval to conduct various landscaping work and replace the existing fence with a new wall and privacy fence at 347 Fairfield Street Southeast, tax map parcel 121-09-04-005.
Thank you. How are y'all doing today? Good. Your name and address, please.
Jason Jones, 347 Fairfield Street, Aiken, South Carolina. We propose to take down the picket fence in the front of the property and replace it with a brick wall that kind of flows with the Fairfield Street side that the house is on. Also remove the fence on the south boundary side and replace it with a wooden 6-foot fence. And the same across the back with a 2-foot retaining wall and then a 4-foot fence on top of it. The reason the retaining wall is because the water is coming in the backyard, and that would also help block that erosion coming into the backyard and around the left side of the house, because it just rolls right around the house. Right. We have put in a drain there to try to catch some of the water, but it's just not doing enough. And that's why we decided to do, if it's approved, the little, retaining wall and put the fence on top of it. Also, the walkway coming into the front would be replaced with the historical brick. Instead of it being the brick pavers that it is now, it would be a more of an elegant look to have the antique brick there. You see the brick pavers right there on the far left. That's what she has in her driveway now, and we figured if we matched it and put the walkway in there, that it would bring all of it together.
And can you describe the south boundary fence? What that's with a little, there's something about a existing retaining wall, or?
Yeah, there's a small 1-foot retaining wall. I'm pretty sure it goes in the ground, probably about a foot also. that wall is also probably put there for water not to come in the yard, but the picket fence that's there, the old picket fence, is, that block wall is kind of rotting in the bottom of it out. Some of it looks janky, and then it's also wrapped in between those trees that we don't want to really bother, but there's a clear view down through there to where we can put a new fence up without disturbing the trees that are there. And the same case goes for the picket fence across the front. I mean, it's in pretty rough shape, and they've got these big pillars. I don't know what they done, but they're these poles that they have drove down into the ground, and it's supporting the fence from falling over because it's just so, you know, worn out is basically what I would say.
So you're proposing to take out the 2 piers that exist now, is that correct?
We would take the 2 piers out, but we would replace those with the matching of the brick wall there. So they would be in the same location. We was also proposing to put 2 gas lanterns on the front of those that are matching the gas lanterns that are now installed on the house that burn all the time. But we would put them back to make them look basically just like they are, if that's what we need to do. That way you still keep that same look, but the brick wall still butts into it. Obviously, they will be a little bit taller than what they are now because, you know, you probably want them columns about 1 foot taller than the brick fence, which is proposed at 6 foot tall.
It says something about 8 foot tall.
8 foot? That's right. Yeah, we proposed at 8 foot because of how the block wall drops down and then goes flat and then comes back up to the brick column.
Any questions from the board?
Now we can get the brick to do the wall with. We can get it tumbled, which means that it would make it look antique-y already. Instead of just having a perfect square brick, we could make that effect look to where it would kind of flow in with everything else that's on Fairfield Street.
A nice distressed look.
Exactly.
Now, the knee wall. Okay, the knee wall on the back that runs on the back side, has that been there all the time?
There's actually no knee wall back there right now.
But you're going to put one in.
Yes, and it's only going to be exposed probably 1 foot 8 inches to 2 foot above the ground, and then we were proposed to put a 4 foot fence.
And this is going to act. Yeah.
And then 6 foot.
And this
Same
is
height as it
a
is now.
twofold purpose to water retention and keep the water from rushing. Make sure that they put some weep holes in there so you don't get that hydrostatic pressure built up behind the walls in there. So
Yes, sir. And we're going to also put the rebar in the footers to make sure the footers are a lot more sturdier. And I'm also going to run rebar up to make sure that even on the front wall, we're going to make sure that front wall don't never lean or fold or anything like that.
we see a few of them around here that do. So you're right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Gray.
Well, we got a bunch of samples of that fencing, and it is very cheaply made.
Yeah.
Yes, I've got a bunch of samples of that, and we went through the samples. We was wanting to, so that's a PVC, that what you're looking at there.
Right.
Instead of using the PVC, we were proposed to use the wood fence that we could paint whatever color you guys would allow us to paint, that, you know, to make it look.
Pressure treated.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Okay. So right, anywhere it says composite, we just substitute
Yes,
pressure
sir.
treated and then painted. I guess you said black in one place and then dark gray. You were saying dark gray because it came in a dark gray.
That's a
No.
charcoal black,
Okay, that's your paint color?
which would match the gates on the front that we propose, which would be like a charcoal black.
Okay.
That way it kind of all flowed in together.
You see a lot of dark privacy fencing. I happen to be riding around trying to see how much we had, and we've got a lot. It's mostly Charleston green. I mean, it's not black.
Right, Charleston green. I've seen a lot of
Yeah.
that around there.
Yeah. That would work or not?
But yes, a dark.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
She can talk. Oh, would
your
you
name on the
introduce yourself? Yes.
I said, yeah, I'd be willing to, if Charleston Green would be approved, that's
Mm.
fine. But if,
And what's your name? And
I'm sorry, I'm Mary Beth Carroll. I'm the homeowner.
so you're at this address?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
She's a fence consultant. No, if you ride around that neighborhood, there's a whole lot of that privacy fencing. Most of it is sort of a dark gray.
First of all, that's kind of
I-
the color that we were.
I have to say, I'm very concerned about all the fencing on broad south boundary becoming 6 to 8 feet tall. Do we really want that, that iconic street to have that feel? It kind of reminds me of like the highway barrier wall feel. It encourages people to go faster. It's not pedestrian friendly.
You're saying the wood on south boundary that happens to be wood, but the height you're
The
concerned.
height. Yes.
Yes, I wanted to ask the applicant, in the design guidelines, and I'll read it to you under walls and fences. It says, wall, fences, and gates are among Aiken's most character-defining features and include enclosures of a variety of materials, heights, and design. They are an extremely important historic element of the city and for that reason should be preserved and protected. And most of the enclosures, which they mean by walls, fences, and vegetation, form low, solid walls between the community right-of-ways and the private property. And if you go into that area, it's an extremely important area. And I realize that the house itself is non-contributing, and am I correct about that? But it does have a lot of history, and it was, it was one of the, not the founding families, but it was a very important family historically here in Aiken. And one of the things that she did was she really loved her picket fence, and she brought it back and put it in front of Fairfield, the house on Fairfield, and you're doing a beautiful job on it, by the way. I love what you've been doing. And I thought to myself, it's such a shame to see that go. And I'm concerned about the height of these fences have you given it any consideration about making those lower? Because if you go, the houses all around there, I sort of live in that area anyway, and so I'm very familiar with it, but they'll have a height this way, and then right on their own property, it'll be lower in front of the house as you go up to it, or the front of it, and then maybe higher on the side or the back. I hate, and that's a very visible house. It's on a corner, very important corner. Have you given any thought about having a lower walls?
If y'all remember, the home sat vacant for over a decade and was
I
an
know, I do know
eyesore.
that. Yes, I do know that. But I'm talking
And,
generally.
Well, and in general, and I get that, but it also being on the corner and as busy as South Boundary is, there is no privacy. It is literally like living in a fishbowl. And so, you can't even hardly enjoy your yard because at least myself, I feel like the blinds have to stay closed to some extent for privacy and also for just personal protection. I've got children in the home and so forth, and Aiken's not the town it was in 1976, so just for protection and privacy, I really don't want to go a shorter. I will if you don't approve it, but ideally I would really like the taller wall.
And you feel that way about the front of the house that fronts on Fairfield Street?
Every time I put a suitcase in my car, everybody going down South Boundary sees me. So,
But that's true for most of the other houses in that area. And they don't.
Perhaps, but I guess Jane, they do have a 5-foot wall, but the Hickeys all have, 6, 7-foot walls. All the neighbors down the road, down Fairfield, have the higher walls. The one on Colleton, I guess the two that face Colleton do not, but the ones on Fairfield all do, except for maybe one.
Do you mean, you said Colleton, do you mean Boundary?
No, ma'am, I'm talking on the backside.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, if you go down Fairfield.
right, right.
Yeah, and now South Boundary has a mix. I mean, there are high walls on South Boundary.
There are. Yeah, I
There
know. And your neighbor actually has a picket fence too, right, on Boundary.
She does, but her home, well, she does. And, I can always, I guess, plant trees and tall shrubs if I have to. If, but I would like some privacy, a little bit of protection.
I would like to comment, because I went over last time this came up, I believe, and those are not well-made picket fences. They're not really even,
They're like
they're a half
toothpick.
inch.
they're not inch and a quarter even. They were replacement fences, trying to match the one next door.
It would
And
be
they-
tough. It would be a lot of work to try
If
to
you,
match the
you'd
one.
have to, you'd have to reconstruct them, tear them down, put them
That-
back.
Yeah, if I'm required to keep the current fence.
It looked like it
then I
wasn't
have
even
to-
pressure-treated wood, maybe, the way the wood is deteriorated,
Yes, sir.
so.
There's also, I have a concern about the material change too. So on every wall that you want to do, every fence is kind of a different
The side
design
and the back will be the same. It'll be the wood, painted wood fence.
with the posts like you
And
have
it'll
in the
be
back.
Yeah, I would, maintain the columns back, they would be taller, but in fact, I think the back column might belong to my back neighbor,
Oh,
back neighbor anyway. So the front fence would be the brick.
Yeah.
And I guess the side would have a brick, kind of a small brick
Base.
wall and then the wood fence on it.
it's kind of a tough joint in some ways, but it just
Well,
looks,
there'll be a column in the corner
yeah.
where the two will butt up to. Yeah.
But if the brick wall was lower, you could put half of it on Boundary.
That's true, you could.
And it would look so continuous. I mean, the house is beautiful. You've done such a wonderful job. It's, we're being very, like, we want to see it, and I understand your privacy and everything, but it's contributing so much to the neighborhood now.
Yes, it's gorgeous over there. She's done a lot with it.
Yeah.
But I agree with her on having the young kids. She travels a little bit, and then her kids are at the house, and just them being there, it's just an open door for anybody to be able to just walk right up into the yard without any type of protection.
I just want to I'm Susan Kleinbub, and I've been helping.
And what's your address? I'm sorry.
I am, my address?
Uh-huh.
Oh, 225 Walker Avenue.
Thank you.
And I've been working with Mary Beth on creating a garden design for her property. And I just wanted to comment, Faith, on the various different fences. And the reason that we did not continue the brick wall on South Boundary is going and digging a proper footing would impact, have a negative impact on those historical oak trees on that side. So that's why we decided just to leave the existing footer in place and use that for support for our wood fence. We just felt it would be less impact, negative impact on those oaks. So yeah, it would be nice to do something continuous all over, but
Right.
we didn't want to compromise the oak trees.
Yeah, because they're really beautiful. I'd rather leave them oak trees and not disturb those at all.
You could do piers possibly, but it's your design. I mean, we're just here to advise. Are there any comments, other comments from the board?
I was going to ask, just for the record, the picket fence on Tommy's house, next door neighbor, it has brick on the bottom too, is that?
I believe.
Yeah, and so you had brick, it's got the footers, right?
They are there. They're, I don't think, in great condition, at least not on the
Yeah.
front side. The front
I'm just looking at the pictures, trying to,
Yeah, on the front side, I would have to tear those out where the proposed new brick wall would go, but on the sides, we wouldn't.
Okay, and the Fairfield house right behind you, how tall is their brick fence?
Howard and Linda Hickey's fence?
Yeah, the one right,
Yeah, right next, I think it's a
Seven foot, yeah, and I think their columns were 8 foot, if I'm
that's
not.
why I wanted to make sure.
That one.
Is
I thought they were 5.
the, the 331?
That, isn't that
Covered in
I thought that was a 5-foot wall
Yeah.
next door
I
to
think
you.
it's 6.
We measured it, I think it's at least a 6.
6 foot.
I think it's 6.
We went around the whole neighborhood, just making sure we wasn't trying to overdo it we kind of wanted to keep it around the same.
And my concern, I agree with everyone on the board how lovely and careful and intentional your work has been on the property. I think we're all struggling with the fact that we don't want to make the downtown compounded, like compounds. And it's a struggle because when people come and visit, they go, look at the picket fences, and they can look at their houses. And if we turn where everyone's got 6-foot walls, we lose a lot of that. And I'm just saying I'm struggling with it because south boundary, you have some distance from the road. It's not like you're right on it like the one house on Whiskey that we're using as an example. That Whiskey Road is 1 foot away from the fence. So I'm trying to I get on the brick on the Fairfield side. South boundary I'm a little more concerned about because of the neighbor and the number of picket fence and if you will, the replacement standard we're bound by. And my concern is there, some of the people have discussed the whole idea about planting it where it's a barrier too, that live fencing, if you will, green fence can make a difference.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I kind of have now on the south boundary side. You can't, I mean, people that are walking along the sidewalk, obviously, if I'm out on my porch, they constantly are saying hello, so they obviously can see into my yard. But I do have a green screen, so to speak, at least on that south boundary side. It's not, hopefully with Susan's help, it would get fuller.
It can get fuller.
It's an old ligustrum hedge that have been pruned up, it's
Right.
growing the canopy of the live oaks, which are fabulous. But I think for this case, she just wants more solid privacy.
And it's a balance that we're trying to do, and especially on the replacement side, especially given that's a historic corner that I'm just, like I said, I'm struggling with it because of the nature of the picket fence along South Boundary more than anywhere. So I understand the need for concern for security, but I also know that part of Aiken that we love is that we get to look and see. And I'm not sure how we can balance it, but I know that sometimes planting can be formidable as a fence.
Well, and so it would do the same purpose as a solid fence if I planted it solid. You know what I'm saying? It would block the view of the home regardless.
It has a different feel, trust me, when you drive down and look at a 6-foot wall, so.
Well, can I comment? Well, I have maybe an unpopular opinion, but I actually look at masonry, and if it was good masonry done, I'm going to say who did that work. I understand lives change. I understand the importance of security. So I really didn't see anything was wrong with it. I just wanted to see the final renderings and the craftsmanship that was involved with it. You talked about the tumble brick, which I think is very important. I even thought about recycled brick. There's a couple demolition guys going around that has a lot of brick that can be reused from the Augusta Brick Company, but I didn't see any issues with it, so I just, basically didn't say anything.
I wanted to use the historical brick,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
I've been advised because of the integrity of the brick.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not-
That is,
Not
trust
good to
me,
stack 'em.
we looked into it.
yeah, that is very true. The integrity can be an issue.
That was my first choice.
Yeah, but we just yeah, it's but as far as like a brick wall or brick flooring, you definitely can reuse those. But I do know that there are a lot of brick manufacturers that can create the old brick look. So
That's what they've chosen. The Cherokee has a nice line of
yes, ma'am.
looking, they've replicated an old looking.
Yeah. So I really have no opinion on it, basically. So good.
Any other comments from the board? You can have a seat, and we'll ask the public if they have any comments they'd like to share. Yes, Linda? Thank you. Yes, please.
Good evening, everyone. Linda Johnson, 515 Parkside Drive. I'm here on behalf of the board of the Historic Aiken Foundation, and we'd like to express some concerns regarding the application for a fence and wall at 347 Fairfield. I won't repeat all the guidelines that Ms. Corey already cited, but I do have to reiterate, Aiken's enclosures are extremely important to our history. They truly are. So when the half board considered this proposal, we looked at nearby properties and the immediate context, the whole look right, look left, to evaluate whether the proposal preserves the character of the neighborhood. We also considered the fact, as Ms. Hawks already brought up, South Boundary is iconic. I think we've all had the experience of being somewhere out of state where you see an ad or something, you know, in a magazine, and it's South Boundary, and you say, wow, that's South Boundary. Everybody knows South Boundary. And its integrity, rather than Fairfield's, which is a side street, is paramount in this case. The fact that there are taller walls on Fairfield shouldn't override the preservation of the character of South Boundary. So you look at it, the neighbor to the east, who's got a corner lot just like this one, they have a short wall, a 3-foot wall along both Fairfield and South Boundary. The neighbor to the west, short wall along South Boundary, and I guess it's York on that side. The 4 neighbors across the street, starting at York and extending past the Fairfield intersection, all have either short walls or no wall at all. And in fact, short walls are characteristic of that historic section of South Boundary. Now, having a short wall on South Boundary wouldn't preclude the applicant from having a hedge inside the wall to provide that privacy that they're looking for. It also wouldn't mean that they couldn't do something different on the Fairfield side to match what's going on with some of the Fairfield properties. But South Boundary, the basis for a decision should really be based on preserving that character of South Boundary. The subject property currently has that short white picket fence. The neighbor to the west has that picket fence. The neighbor across the street has a short white picket fence. They've created a cohesive an integrity there in that neighborhood. And if we change to a 6-foot tall brick wall, it is going to decrease the integrity of the neighborhood. And finally, something I haven't heard brought up, page 38 of the design guidelines for new walls and fences say that they should complement the buildings they enclose through compatible design, materials, scale, color, and style. It doesn't seem like this brick wall really is compatible with the style and materials of that house that is there, which is a beautiful house. I love that house. But I think in the end, the most important part of this is preserving the character of South Boundary. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Any other comments? Any other comments from the board?
Yeah, I just want to go back to what I had said at the beginning, that I'm very concerned about preserving the historic character of that area, and I'm concerned about the height. It bothers me somewhat, that you're going to have a high wood fence along South Boundary, which then attaches to a high brick wall that goes in front of the house. I'm not sure that really is compatible with the historic character of that whole area, much less compatible with the house. And so those are the things I understand the need for, and the desire for privacy, the need for safety. That I think there could have been more attention to preserving the historic character of that area. And I think that, you know, if more attention had been given to that aspect of it, there might have been a different way of designing that fence.
Do we have a motion? I think the comment about the house being contextual to the fence is, you certainly see that in the other, in the context around the neighborhood. Is the chair allowed to make a motion?
I'm not making a motion.
Mm-hmm. Well, if there is no motion on the table, I'd like to make a motion to, we can move for a continuance with a design of a lower fence so that you could come back with, a revision of design and show us, instead of a flat out rejection. Do we have, I move that we continue this review?
I second your motion.
Would anybody like to amend the motion to? Well, it's been seconded, so if everyone in favor, raise your right hand. The motion passes for a continuance. Thank you.
Item C under new business, application number CERH24-057. Applicant Ladonna Armstrong is requesting approval to construct new walls and accessory structures and conduct various alterations at 408 South Boundary Avenue Southeast, tax map parcel 121-09-06-007. The following alterations are proposed. Construct a new brick wall along Union Street and South Boundary. The proposed new wall will stand 4 feet tall along Union Street and half of the South Boundary Avenue property line. The remainder of the property line along South Boundary Avenue will stand 6 feet tall. The wall is proposed to consist of Moultrie brick from Watsontown Brick and a running bond. Install a pedestrian gate and fence within the property to separate the existing cottage and proposed new covered outdoor kitchen and porch from the remaining of the property. A new pedestrian gate is also proposed to be installed along South Boundary Avenue. A 6-foot wood fence is also proposed, painted Charleston green or left natural, to be constructed on the north and east property lines. The wood fencing on this property is proposed to be a 6-foot tall dog-eared privacy fence. It is proposed to be either left natural or painted Charleston green. Construction of a new 20-foot by 20-foot carport with a 20-foot by 12-foot storage shed attached to the rear of the new carport. The proposed materials are as follows: 8-inch lap fiber cement board siding, painted Sherwin-Williams pure white. Wood supporting columns wrapped in cement board with brick veneer bases. Architectural shingles, metal roof overhangs, and bronze half-round gutters. Another shed located elsewhere on the property is proposed to be removed. Construct a 20-foot by 20-foot outdoor kitchen and covered porch in front of the existing accessory residential structure. The proposed materials will match those on the existing guest house, such as wood shingles. A new brick paver driveway. The new driveway is proposed to consist of the same brick proposed for the new walls, Moultrie brick from Watsonville Brick, in a running bond. A 6-foot-tall dark aluminum gate is proposed to be installed at this location. The gate will be dark bronze, and 5 feet tall and 1 foot 4 inch square brick columns will be located on each side of the gate. A new wood door is proposed to be installed at the front entrance of the primary structure, along with side lights. Install new 6-inch half-round dark bronze gutters. Install raised panel wood grain PVC shutters. The proposed new shutters will be painted Sherwin-Williams Wythe blue and will have black wrought iron hardware. Install new wood railing between the existing columns on the primary residence right side porch. The railing will be 3 feet tall and will consist of 1-inch pickets spaced 4 inches apart. This is a non-contributing property located in the Historic Overlay District, specifically Historic District 2, and is zoned RS-15 single family. The Aiken County Assessor's website lists the construction date of the primary structure as 1963 and the construction date for the accessory building residence as 2017. This property does not have a historic resource survey card. An administrative waiver was issued permitting a minimum 4-foot setback from the rear property line for the proposed new carport and shed, as well as a minimum 9-foot setback for the proposed new covered outdoor kitchen and porch. Additionally, the site plan indicated a potentially proposed pool. The applicant has not yet determined all of the details concerning the pool proposal and therefore has chosen not to include a pool in this application. The applicant plans to submit a separate certificate of appropriateness for a pool at a later date. And I believe Ladonna is here to represent, right, or
Please come up and state your name and your address.
Ladonna Armstrong, 139 Greenville Street Northwest.
Thank you. Are there comments from the board?
Yeah, Madam Chairman, given the nature of the degree of roof changes and the setbacks and that this is a corner lot and most of the visibility of all that's being done can be seen from the roadways. And given its nature, I've requested that we have a site visit, that the site visit can be done on the 17th to expedite the matter. And I think it would add to us to do our due diligence as to what is involved in this request. And I think it's an appropriate way to go forward given the complexity of this project.
Is there a motion to
Yeah, that was a motion.
postpone this application?
Postpone due to a site visit, yes, ma'am.
Right.
I second it.
All in favor? Raise your right hand. All approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just for the record, it's set for the 17th.
Yes.
Okay.
Item D under new business, application number CERH25-008. Applicant Tate Hilliard is requesting approval to construct an addition at 339 Horry Street Southeast, tax map parcel 121-10-24-003. This proposed addition will consist of 898 square feet of conditioned area and 455 square feet of unconditioned area. The applicant proposes to construct the addition to match the existing residence in material and style. The roof addition will consist of a 30-year architectural shingles. The proposed brick will match the existing brick in size and color, and the proposed siding is a wood drop profile siding painted to match the existing structure. The trim will consist of corner and band board trim in wood, while the brackets will consist of milled wood. Both will match the existing in color. The proposed windows for the addition are the 400 series wood-right 4/1 double-hung windows by Anderson. They will be clad wood with a fiberglass Fibrex exterior and will include full divided lights. This is the same window that the DRB approved to replace the existing windows at the property at the August 15th, 2024 DRB meeting. This is a contributing property located in the Historic Overlay District, specifically Historic District 2, and is zoned RS-15 single family. The Aiken County Assessor's website lists the construction date of the structure as 1937. The Aiken Historic Resource Survey card lists the construction date as 1925.
Hi, my name is Tate Hilliard, 633 South Boundary Avenue,
Thank you.
and I'm the architect of record. I'm here representing Stephen and Sarah Gaida.
Are there any comments you'd like to make about the,
Well, no, I'm here to answer or address any questions you may have. Be glad to do that, yes.
are there any questions?
He could raise the mic back up.
Thank you.
No questions from me. Public comments?
Yes? Any other questions?
I do have a comment.
Yes.
I just wanted to congratulate you and the owners of this property for doing such a good job on this. I think that, if you go through the application and you match it up to the guidelines, you spend a lot of time and detail trying to come up with a plan that fits the guidelines. And I wanted to commend you for that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, even down to the drop profile siding on the side of it.
Thank you. We spent over 2 months in design development on this project.
I can see that you did.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I like the fact that it's in the rear of the property as well, so it doesn't take away from the facade, because it is a contributing property. And I guess the approximate date is 1925 or 1937?
Around 1925 is what Mrs. Gaida is telling me. Yes, her father built it, I believe.
So it's really good that that the addition is in the rear of it.
Yes, definitely.
Actually built it.
Oh, okay. I've heard several stories.
I grew up right next door, so.
Wonderful. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you explain the porch roof and the attachment to the chimney? Is that to keep the chimney low?
It is, but it's also, Mrs. Gaida loves gardening, and that is the end of the porch, and she wants to do a water feature there and possibly specimen trees on that end, because there's a wall about 30 feet from that porch, and it's to allow light and air into that area. So it's also to keep the chimney low. Chimney, I feel like counterbalances the large existing house, but it's also to allow light into that space.
So
It's a hip roof.
fenestration in the gable above that hip. Is that what you're saying?
No.
On that elevate, can we see
It's basically just a hip roof. It's instead of the gable end roofs. There you go. You can see it in that Exhibit A up there.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Page 9.
I see. So something's wrong. Because the chimney is above the pitch of the roof on the west elevation, but the south elevation, it's
Yes,
not.
and to be honest with you, we're still in study of that chimney.
Oh, okay.
We really wanted to match or more closely match the existing original chimney on the house that you see in the left elevation. So if I need to amend that, it may step up where the shoulders are, and just so you don't have such a mass of brick.
Right.
I think it makes it a little bit more elegant. So again, this design development has been ongoing. So that is another area we're going to, now I don't know if I need to resubmit that area for you, but we do want to address that.
Yeah. No, it's just a curiosity, really.
Okay.
I had to get you on one detail,
Of course.
Unlike her, sir, I'm not gonna make your day hard.
Is there a motion? Or, oh, I'm sorry, public comment. Is there any public comment? No? Motion?
Madam Chairman, I would like to move that, that we approve application number CERH 25-008 for the roughly almost 900 square feet of addition, along with some unconditioned porch area, with the exception of the new chimney design, which he may submit, Tate, the architect, may want to submit a follow-up, maybe a revision to that for
course.
administrative approval.
I would love that. That'd be great. Thank you. Yes.
Second.
Favor? Raise your right hand.
Thank you.
Approved.
Thank you very much.
Item E under new business, application number CERH 25-009. Applicant Andrea Ribera is requesting approval to replace 5 windows, an entrance door, and a storm door at 607 Colleton Avenue Southeast. Tax map parcel 121-09-10-001. 2 of the windows proposed for replacement are located on either side of the entrance door, also proposed for replacement. The remaining 3 windows are located on an adjacent wall. The existing windows are white wood 2/1 double hung windows with simulated divided lights. The proposed new windows are 2/1 double hung Fibrix windows with simulated divided lights in the color white. The glass is the clear high performance smart sunglass. This will have a subtle green hue from the low E coating on the glass. The existing entrance door is white with a black storm door. The applicant is requesting approval to replace these with a new white door and a black storm door. The proposed new white door is a legacy 20-gauge smooth steel entry door. The glass of the windows within this door will be clear, not tinted. The proposed new storm door is a DuraGuard series storm door in the color coal black. The glass in this door will also be clear. The applicant is requesting window replacements for better energy efficiency. This is a contributing property located in the Historic Overlay District, specifically Historic District 2, and is zoned RS-15 single family. The Aiken County Assessor's website lists the construction date of the structure as 1892. The Aiken Historic Resource Survey card lists the construction date as circa 1920. This property received an approval for Certificate of Appropriateness number CERH 24-017, which requested approval to replace a different set of windows at this property in December of 2023. These replacement windows were also white Fibrix windows from renewal by Anderson and included simulated divided lights. Additionally, this property received final certification for the special tax assessment in 2019.
I'm Arthur Bremer. I'm the owner of 607 Colleton Avenue Southeast, and we're just here to present the change of the windows and a door. And as we talked earlier, 4 of the windows are the older windows with the ropes and the weights, and there's one, if you see on that right-hand corner, that's actually abuts the kitchen. It's just a pane of glass framed in with some wood, and it's got a big old crack in it. So it has to be replaced one way or the other. I had it priced out about 6 months ago, and we decided to just go ahead and see if y'all let us replace all those windows in that area instead of just replacing that pane of glass. And it's mainly because it's cold. That's the coldest part of the house. That's an old addition to the original house off the kitchen. And off to the left is a bedroom, bathroom, and laundry room. And those are all added, much later in the original structure. But it's a pretty simple proposal. Just need your approval.
Is the existing door a wood door?
Yes.
And you're replacing the wood door because it doesn't have
It's just lets the air in, it just blows in. It's got a big gap, a settlement gap in the top. So we had Anderson windows put in, like I said, in '23, and it made all the difference in the world in the back, in our family room. So we're hoping that we don't turn blue every time we walk through that side of the house. It is pretty cold.
In a wood door, you could repair that. You could put a piece of wood at the top and.
Yeah, we could attempt to. That.
Especially if you're going to do a storm door, which is going to help with the.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, the storm door is still a possibility. You got an old storm door now.
Yeah. A steel door is just such. It doesn't belong in this house. You know, doesn't fit kind of the time period or the care that you've put into the other aspects of the house.
Yeah, it looks exactly like the wooden door. I mean, as far as the windows and design.
Yeah, they don't believe that. Because the panels are actually pressed into the steel. You know, it's not a panel door at all. It's just, yeah. I don't think you'd be happy with it.
Okay, how about the windows? I'm not going to argue with you on the door.
Looking at the application in its entirety, considering that you started replacing the windows with the Anderson windows, and of course we approved it, from what I'm seeing and what I'm reading. The windows were simulate divided light. I understand that your current windows were painted closed, as we discussed in the work session. As far as matching windows concerned, my opinion is that, much as I hate to say it, would replace them.
Any other comments from the board?
I agree with Ahmad. I think since we've approved it before and it's, you know, it's the same house, you know, I'm a little concerned that but it doesn't, you know, it's an old house, it's a wonderful house, and a lot of these features should be preserved, but since it's already been approved, I can understand the need to change that. That we probably should have some flexibility there. But I also agree about the door. I think that, you know, I personally would think it would be better not to have a steel door in that house, and I think that you could achieve the same thing you're looking for if you looked at various ways to repair it or add some sort of a, you know, something at the top of the door to close that gap. I have an old house myself, and I'm always dealing with that, but I couldn't bear to change the doors in my house because it would change the whole. It would change the look and character, historic character, of the whole house. So, you know, I certainly, if the storm door, I mean, if the doors were left out of this application, I could certainly understand.
So,
going forward.
Madam Chairman, can I have permission to speak? So let's talk about old doors. I have a old house as well. I don't live in it, but I have one. And if you ever start with doors, it's very tricky. If it were me and I wasn't as frugal as I was and I wasn't a builder, I probably would go ahead and replace the door. Just generally speaking. Maybe not with steel, maybe a wood door, but with the old doors, what happens is that moisture get to them, they start to swell. You find gapping around the weather seal. You either got to custom make that stuff, change out the sweeps. It can be a daunting task. The easier, cheaper way that can retain the look of a historic house would be to replace it with a similar-like product. And I agree with the board, not steel. Wood, I would be preferential to say wood, or I would prefer wood. But do you have any differing of opinions in reference to wood?
I'll be honest with you, steel's not my favorite either. But We have the Anderson representative here, maybe she has,
Yeah, let's talk to her. Let's bring her up.
maybe she has.
Oh, well, they found a vendor that does wood.
My name's Emily Hickman. I'm with Renewal by Anderson. The other product that we would have, we just don't have anything that would be a wood product, but we do have fiberglass, which would be my suggestion. Which was, originally, I guess, my suggestion, but that's give us the best look, I guess, for the wood door. It would be a lot better suggestion than the steel, but as far as a wood product, just on entry doors right now, we don't have anything that's a full wood door.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bremer. You might need to find a different company. Seriously, because they are. I'm not knocking Anderson, okay? I'm clearly not knocking Anderson, but I do know that there are vendors or there are producers of wood doors, and they're good quality doors because I've replaced a couple of them.
Yeah, why don't we just address the doors later?
Yes, sir.
Well, can I say something? Now, okay. Yeah, you also have this storm door, right? Is that
Correct.
part of the package? That's a separate item. Maybe you can repair the wood like you suggest. Is it water damp? Is there water? It looks like it could be a damp area, no?
It is a damp area.
Yeah, so that storm door she does have, we recognize a door that's only got a frame around it, probably needs to be steel, and glass. And that would solve I can see right there the crack, from the sagging door, the screen part. I guess that's a screen door. So that would probably solve your infiltration and might protect what's left of the wood door, or you later on come back and say, I found a wood door
Right.
that duplicates it. But maybe if you want, you might keep the storm door in the application.
Sorry. And the guidelines really encourage us to keep the historic, pieces of your building. And since you do have a property tax assessment too, even though this can't be seen from the road, it's still part of your tax exemption. So I really recommend keeping the old door and repairing it as opposed to a new one. Yeah, does the public have any comment? Nope. Any?
Yeah, just one last thing. I was just thinking, I have an old home too. Mine's 100 years old. Front door is the same door that was put in there when it was built. It's a challenge to keep it like you're talking about, but it can be done. You just have to find somebody that's willing to put a little TLC in it to make it function like that. But I think with the storm door, you're going to be comfortable to see a better result than you have now. But a metal door, I know some folks that have put metal doors in, and it doesn't take much to put a dent in one, and it starts looking like a metal door very quickly. So that's all. Thank you we appreciate what you're doing. The house is great. I think I grew up right around the corner. I've been by that house as many times as can't even imagine. How long have you been there?
About 5.5 years now.
Okay. Well, you've certainly done a good job of getting it up where you want it. So
And
Appreciate it. Yeah, we enjoy
it's
looking
still a money pit though, isn't it?
Yeah, and talk about walls. We have the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I can think about when you talk about this wall.
Oh yes.
Madam Chairman, Madam Chairman, can I discuss one more thing? Yeah. Piggybacking off what John said, I can attest, to repairing metal doors, and the only way to get a dent out of metal door is to put typically Bondo in it, and metal doors are a pain to paint. They chip, and if you put Bondo or filler in it, you can never get that natural wood grain look back.
Right.
So it's a challenge. And the Bondo pops, and then you got cracks. I'm sorry, Anderson.
there a motion?
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion regarding our applicant for application CRH 25-009. The applicant has done considerable work to refurbish this historic property. And I think he's on the last lap here with trying to improve the original windows there that are probably not as efficient as our new windows, Anderson windows, that are insulated. And so I move that we approve the application with the exception that the wood door not be replaced with a steel door, but if the applicant would like to install the steel sash, storm sash door, that could be approved. And I believe they've already replaced some non-conforming steel windows in the rear that probably weren't insulated at all, and weren't compatible with the rest of the house. So now I think this will match the windows, the new windows they have in the back. These windows also happen to be, even though they're part of this particular tax incentive program, they happen to be very almost invisible from the street. They're tucked into a corner. They're part of an addition. They're not part of the original probably not part of the original house constructed in the 1800s. So I move that we approve it with that modification.
Thank you.
Second.
All approved? Raise your right hand.
Thanks again.
Approved. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Item F under new business, application number CERH 25-013. Applicant Joseph Woodward is requesting retroactive approval to remove copper flashing from the Harrington House at 433 Newberry Street Southwest, tax map parcel 105-12-02-001. The copper flashing had previously been installed without DRB approval. On February 6, 2024, the DRB approved the removal of the copper flashing from the 1931 section of the building. This approved certificate of appropriateness stated that no work was proposed to be done at the Harrington House at that time. Therefore, the Harrington House was not included in the approval. However, the copper flashing was removed from the 1860s Harrington House section of the building at the time it was removed from the 1931 section of the building. The applicant is now requesting retroactive approval for the removal of the Harrington House copper flashing. This is a landmark property located in the Historic Overlay District, specifically Historic District 2, and is zoned RSS Single Family Stable. The construction date listed on the Aiken Historic Resource Survey card is circa 1932.
I'm Joey Woodward. I'm here representing Aiken County in relation to the museum and the flashing removal. I guess what brought me here the first time was the installation of copper flashing on the original museum building. And that we went in and got approval to remove it, and I say remove, partially removed. It wasn't completely removed, it was just trimmed back so that the appearance of the molding and stuff could be fully seen. At that time, the Harrington House was basically put off limits. We were just going to go in and trim on the original building, and the Harrington House will be treated at a later date. All right, well, we had a really exuberant contractor that went in, and he decided that they started at one end and they finished at the other. So, I'm not saying it was right, I'm not saying it was wrong. We gained the same result because the Harrington House, if you were to look at the original building and look at the Harrington House, just from my perspective, I can find far more, I guess, violations of historical, what you consider historical code on the Harrington House than on the original one. That being said, what was decided at the first meeting was that the county at some point would employ a architect to do a full evaluation of the exterior envelope of the building. Someone who's had work and experience with historical buildings, provide a scope of work, come up with an estimated budget, and at that time, then the county can try to seek funding and go and do it. Is it? So I guess I'm.
Yeah. Madam Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
You know, we sit in a very precarious position where we're sitting up here, and we're supposed to be speaking for the community, for the laws, for the addresses. And when we keep seeing over and over again retroactive coming up before us, it's concerning not only to us but to the public. They want to know why is that happening. And my question to you is, you were here before. How did this end up?
I don't think you're going to see this happen again. There's a very short education program going on with it.
Okay, very good. That's what I wanted.
Very short learning curve. Joey's made it clear that he's not going to come up here every 3 months and ask for forgiveness.
Thank you.
Instead of permission, I'd rather ask for permission.
I'm asking that question because this is all public record and people want to know, and I appreciate you being
It is
candid.
understandable.
Yeah.
These people are, the public tax-paying citizens, and they're abiding by the rules and stuff, and they're asking for permission, not retroactive permission.
And we've got other issues on the horizon we'll have to deal with, and so they're going to say, well,
John,
but I appreciate that. Thank you.
Like I say, my instructions were that by the end of the week to have a path forward with a architect.
Hey, John, I think the guy wanted the copper, man. Have you checked the price of copper lately?
Yeah, right.
I'll be making phone calls tomorrow. Thank y'all.
I'm wondering if we can wait for the evaluation, so they can also look at the job that was done on the copper. Would that be?
We should.
Okay. Is there comment from anybody else on the board before I give out the copy? And the public? Yeah.
Linda Johnson, 515 Parkside Drive. I am speaking on behalf of Historic Aiken Foundation, but I'll also tell you that Banksia is very near and dear to my heart. I'm a docent there, have been for a long time. We agree with Mr. McMichael that the retroactive approvals have gotten really old, but I'm confident. I've been talking to the county a lot. I don't think you're going to be seeing that from the county in the future. And I will say that I am very glad that even though there was a bit of a hiccup with doing the flashing in the first place, the county has really stepped up to try and fix the problem. So that's very good. Also want to say that, there have been some comments, all the flashing should have been completely removed because Willis Irvin didn't have the flashing there. Well, Willis Irvin was a brilliant architect. He did wonderful buildings and houses. He sometimes prioritized aesthetics over engineering, and actually having, the 1 inch of flashing there isn't a bad thing. I've talked to some of the people on the board who do this with their houses, and you want a little bit of flashing. So that's okay that there's a little bit. I will ask a couple of things with the county. When this latest removal was done, in some places it left a scalloped edge. I'm not quite sure how the contractor removed or trimmed the flashing, but it's like a scallop, where instead of being a nice straight 1 inch, it's dips, like 2-inch, 3-inch dips. So when they do this big evaluation, I'm hoping that the whoever's doing it, that they will be looking at that, making sure we get an even trim there. And we do not want to forget that the flashing around the chimneys still has to be considered. I understand there are some issues with mortar. It needs to be stabilized before we can do the step flashing. But Willis Irvin did put flashing around the chimneys, and he stepped it down very carefully. So that's going to be really important. We don't want to lose track of that. So thank you.
Any other comment from the public? Any other questions? No. Nope. A motion?
On application number, oh wow, I get ready to make the motion and I lose my application number. Application number CER 825-013. I make the motion that the application is continued until the analysis is done by an architect and also maybe a structural professional, considering the chimneys is an ongoing concern. We discussed previously that the step flashing should be present as the building was presented when it was built. From the pictures that I've seen and also the observations by riding past Banks, the museum, those changes have not been made, and we don't want you to keep continuously just coming here with an application that is partial. At least that's the way I view it. So I ask that the application be continued until the analysis has been performed or made.
I'll second that. All in favor? Approved. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, for the record, because of this involves a Green Boundary Club in which I'm a member, I'm recusing myself.
Myself and Pat.
Pardon me? I was there.
So we do have a quorum.
Make him stay.
Right. Make 'em stay.
But is that a form of a motion? Okay, good.
Item G under new business, application number TAX030. Applicant Mike Hosang requests final certification of the special tax assessment for historic properties for renovations at 780 Whiskey Road, tax map parcel 121-13-13-001. The DRB retroactively approved a preliminary certification for the special tax assessment on June 4th, 2024. The applicant is now requesting approval for final certification. The scope of work approved by the DRB includes removing a rear sun porch to construct a new clubroom in its place. The sun porch had been previously enclosed at an unknown date, and the applicant explained that it was not original to the house. A certificate of appropriateness was issued for this work. This is a contributing property in the Historic Overlay District, specifically Historic District 1, on the Aiken Historic Register. The Aiken Historic Resource Survey lists the construction date as circa 1927, and the Aiken County Assessor's Office lists the construction date as 1927. The board is tasked with determining whether the completed work meets the standards and verification that expenditures have been made in accordance with this section. The board will conduct an on-site visit at 4 p.m. on September 3rd to review the completed work. The applicant has provided a spreadsheet marked paid that lists the work paid to complete the new club room, which comes to a total of $784,716.23 worth of work paid. The Aiken County Assessor's Office lists the 2023 total market value of the property as $1,829,810. The cost of the proposed rehabilitation work must satisfy the minimum expenditures for a rehabilitation requirement of 20% of the fair market value of the eligible buildings. The 20% minimum expenditures for this property equals $365,962. The board is reminded that in order to be counted towards the minimum expenditures for rehabilitation, work must relate to one or more of the following: improvements located on or within the designated buildings, additions to the historic buildings, which makes possible an efficient contemporary use while preserving those portions and features of the buildings that are significant to its historic, architectural, and cultural values. Costs associated with new structures or the addition of rentable, habitable floor space not attributed to efficient contemporary use of space within an existing historic structure shall not be included in the calculation of eligible cost. Architectural and engineering services attributable to the design of the improvements. Cost necessary to maintain the historic character or integrity of the designated buildings. And I believe our applicants are here.
Could you please come up and state your name and address?
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members. My name is Ryan Reynolds, 113 Contract Drive. Serve on the Board of Governors for the club and representing tonight, and I'll take any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions?
Comments? Madam Chairman, I don't have a question, but can I state a comment?
Mm-hmm.
I looked at the work, Ryan. It was impeccable work, and it actually looks good. The work actually looks good. All the materials were of the time, like wood floors, coat trim. It was all stained grade stuff. Outside brick tying, good. Color matched perfectly. I didn't find any deficiencies. So good, kudos to you and good job.
Thank you.
Yep.
It's just the post facto aspect. It's just the post facto aspect, doing it retroactively. I went through the process with my own house, and it's not fun to do it in the sequence because you have to get approval for each step of the way. So
sure.
I just had to get that in.
Could I add a comment?
Yes.
Now we're going to see if others want to speak at some point, but I think the first item here that, other than the fact that the expenditure is more than 20%, which it is, so I believe they've done their homework to verify that it qualifies for the program. But also the very first sentence, the criteria for the solution: the historic character of a property shall be retained and preserved. The removal of historic materials or alterations of features that characterize each property shall be avoided. And I think that we all realized from the previous preliminary certification that y'all were removing a lean-to sort of addition, porch addition. That really wasn't, I think we've got pictures of it, that actually detracted from the historic structure.
100%.
Yeah, and what you've done has not removed any historic materials, and nor has it affected the historic character. So I think it is a plus and an improvement to the rear, and it's very functional as well. So I Just want to say that.
It's allowed us to retain newer, younger members, which is vital to the health of the overall club as some of the senior members are aging out. It has given the younger generation here another option. And so without that not only being vital to the building, where we were able to fix a lot of other code and ADA issues that the building never had, that helps the older members, to gain better access to it. And so we hope to be up here in the near future for the next phase of the bathrooms that we hope to add on to give a little bit more ADA compliant on that side. So we certainly appreciate y'all's consideration and joining us out there to take a look at it. So if y'all can vote us through, we'll invite you to dinner.
Nope. One more thing I can say, as it relates to the actual club, but going through the guidelines, explicitly discuss new additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction shall not destroy the historic materials that characterize the property. The new work shall be differentiated from the old and shall be compatible with massing, size, scale, and architecture features to protect the historic integrity of the historic property and its environment, which I'm quite sure, as I reflect, you satisfy that criterion. And also, new additions or adjacent or related new construction shall be undertaken in such a manner that if it was removed in the future, the essential form and the integrity of the historic property and its environment would be unimpaired. And that's for the people that's viewing the meeting at home. We have this in front of us, but
sure,
just going by the guidelines.
That's an excellent point, because the French doors are still there that if this addition came off, those openings that were in the exterior facade of the original are still there.
Yes, ma'am. We tried to preserve as much as we could with the existing building.
Is there any comments from the remaining audience? Okay, no, thank you. Is motion?
On final certification of special tax assessment, number TAX030, as it relates to the Green Boundary Corporation Club, 780 Whiskey Road, tax parcel 121-13-13-001. We find that the final certification is eligible and is in harmony with the derivative as we discussed, and the property has met or exceeded the current conditions that the property has received preliminary certification, which retroactively we discussed. Ms. Faith, you pointed out greatly. But B, the minimum expenditures for rehab were incurred and paid, which there's documentation of that, and the completed rehab receives approval from the DRB as being consistent with the plans and approved by the DRB as part of the preliminary certification, which once again, Ms. Faith, we talked about it being retroactively. But with what was presented here tonight and also discussed, I find that it actually meets the qualifications for the special tax assessment.
Is there
Second.
all approved?
Yeah.
We have a quorum.
Madam Chairman, I have to abstain from the vote due to the fact that I was not able to meet the meeting, but if I was able to vote, I would vote in the affirmative. So, thank you.
Well said. Thank you. Meeting adjourned. Do we have something? Oh, yes. We'll bring Barbara back in. Yeah.
Oh, wait. I moved to adjourn.
You had time to make cookies, too.
Special meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
I second it.
All in favor? We're agreeing to adjourn.